it was a weird event, because it was just me, the only student there, and then a house full of teachers, which was crazy because they were all sort of still seniors to me then. But yeah, that.
And why do you think they invited you?
I was pretty good marketing material for the school.
Right.
But I think as well as that, I don't think that that's the only reason. I think that might be a cynical reason. I don't know. I think that they enjoyed seeing somebody actually do something, or they could think in their minds that they contributed to somebody doing something or building something. Hey there, my name is Oliver Pollasky. I'm the co-founder of the Founders Journal and the subject of today's interview. I've been a founder since I can remember. I've always had a need and a passion to build things. And I've found out that the way in which I can do that and have the most impact on people is through building innovative products and companies. I learned 3 important things about myself and about founders from this interview. Firstly, the people that push founders to become founders and the ones that push them in their mission is often those that are closest to them, their family. For me, that person was my mum. Secondly, I learned that I don't have all the answers. There's been times in my life where I thought that I did, as I think any confident young person probably does, but I definitely don't. And I think that's a great thing, because it means that there's still stuff left to be discovered and still things that need to be built. And if there wasn't, well then life might be a little bit mundane. The last thing that I learned, and I think probably the most profound, is that the impact that elders have had on my life. I've been incredibly blessed to be around people who have taught me things that have made me level up. And those lessons were only possible because these people have gone out to battle themselves and survived to tell the tale. I think that elders are an important thing for any founder to have, for anybody to have, because if not for nothing, it forces you to continue being a learner. Something that I think is becoming more rare and something that might even be dying. This interview was conducted between me and my friend and mentor, Tom Moore. Please join me in watching me get unmasked. Thank you.
Ollie, why are you so worried about people liking you?
I don't know if I'm worried about people not liking me. I've just never really had many people dislike me, so it's a weird feeling when they don't. It feels like there's something off.
When do people dislike you?
I think more people have started to dislike me lately as I sort of raise my own thoughts and opinions about things. I was never really a dude to talk too much. Like if there was an argument or something happening, I'd usually just sort of stay quiet and not really bother with it, because I was like, it's not worth my time. And now as I think, I become a little bit more disagreeable and start saying what I actually think and, contributing, which maybe isn't the best thing to do, people have started to dislike me more, which actually I'm kind of fine with. Like it's a better feeling now that if they dislike me because of what I think and what I say, rather than just disliking for no reason, it's easier to think about and deal with.
Did you not like it when someone used to dislike you?
I'm trying to think about the times that people have disliked me.
Have you ever had an adversary or a nemesis?
I've never had a proper nemesis. I don't think maybe I have had a nemesis that somebody thinks that I'm their nemesis, that I don't think that I'm their nemesis, but
So you're unsure.
I'm unsure. There's one time I had an adversary at school. There was this kid who was really mad at me because it was an exam, and he sort of wrote 12 pages on this subject, and I wrote 4, and I ended up getting the 12 mark in the class, and he was really upset with that, and went after the teacher, and went after me personally. That was the only time I really, I think, had that's one that comes to my mind that I've had an adversary. You know what, I think I've
Did you ever confront him on it?
Yeah.
What? How?
I told him off about it, but then
What did you say?
I just asked him why I was being a dick.
Where?
Where?
Where did you ask him?
At school.
Where though at school?
Just after class. Just after he did it.
What did he say?
He denied it, and then
He denied it.
yeah, he said he said that it was unfair that I would get that and he did more work. Yeah, which didn't make sense to me because I used to do more work rather than smarter work. And I had a meeting once with my mum and a teacher, and apparently it wasn't working out for me very well, so I started doing smarter work. That was the one sort of takeaway. So I started doing less and thinking harder about it, and it worked out.
Right.
I had an adversary with me.
Do you still know he's an adversary?
No, I wouldn't say that he's an adversary now.
Right. What
I
about
think
with you? and
both
me?
adults. With me, I had an adversary, which was sort of at the end of my when I was doing marketing. Apparently, I was the reason that everything in their life was falling down and exploding.
Did they say that to you?
Yeah,
Really?
like I was
How?
the issue. Oh, they got very mad at me, and then I booked a meeting to sort of settle it, and because apparently I had to, which fair enough, I had to remake the friend again, which was fine. I was happy to take the sort of other road. I got on the first meeting, they grilled me for half an hour and then cancelled the weekly.
Right.
Which was weird to me because when that happened, I was 20, 21,
How did
and
it
they
make
were an
you feel?
adult. I didn't feel great about it. It was probably the first time something like that had happened to me, in which I had a proper adversary in my professional, more adult life.
Right.
And it was kind of scary.
Were they an ally before they were an adversary?
Yes. Yes, they were. I wouldn't ever say that we were that close, but yeah, they were an ally, and then I moved away. And it's sort of, I think, as soon as I moved away, it sort of just started crumbling.
Right. Why do you think they became an adversary?
Honestly, I think the end of the day problem was because I was a young person doing a bigger job that they thought was unfair because they were older than me and had worked for longer than I had. It came about because I started, they weren't sort of getting stuff done when I needed, and it was going late because everything needed to be scheduled in a specific way, and I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, so I just started doing it, and they thought that I was going above them and beyond them, which they didn't really like.
Was it the first time you were in charge of something?
No, it wasn't the first time I was in charge of something.
Right. Would you have done anything differently?
No. I tried to fix it. It didn't work.
What did you learn from it?
that probably not everyone's always gonna like you.
Right.
Yeah, I think that what I learned from that was, yeah,
Did it
there
slow
will be
you down?
Hey,
Did it slow you down?
it did. It sort of got me into my head a lot.
For how long?
I'd say a month, and it was difficult because it was sort of at the end of the period. It was like I had a good 3 to 4 month break where I had, like, the 3 to 4 months prior to that, I was in my head a lot, and I struggled with getting out of it.
Right.
And then I was good for a while, and then that happened, and I was sort of in my head, but less so. It was more of an angry voice in my head than it was
An angry voice.
Yeah, it was
What
like,
was it? What would it say to you?
it was like, oh, it would be like, what the fuck? Why are people sort of starting to gang up on me now?
Right.
And I was angry at that fact. I was angry at the world, whereas before the voice was more of a sort of overthinking voice. It wasn't angry.
And as a founder, what can you learn from this exchange, or this voice of yours?
I think I used to always think about the voice as a bad thing, as a thing that I need to get away from. And now that I look back on it, it's very helpful.
Right.
It's sort of it's even though it can be too much sometimes, you like use it in the correct way, it can be very powerful and guide me in the right way.
What's the correct way?
As in the correct way to use that voice.
Yeah.
You said something interesting the other day, which is how you make decisions, which is by doing a quick pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
I think having frameworks like that, or behaviors like that, to then judge what you're actually going to use and not use based on the voice in your head is probably the best way to go about it. But I don't know, I'm still figuring it out.
Do you feel confident that you can disagree with your mind sometimes?
Yes.
Did that process teach you that?
Yeah, I think that process taught me, that and the time before probably taught me that my mind's not always right, whereas I would have thought before that it is.
Right.
And that, ability to sort of disagree with myself has helped and will help me as a founder.
People want to ally with you quickly. Why do you think that is?
Most of the people that I've worked with,
No, ally with.
most of the people that I've then allied with have been oftentimes older or a lot older than me. I think that they probably see themselves in me a little bit.
Are you sure?
No. I think they want to teach somebody who's ready to learn. Maybe that's it. I'm constantly wanting to learn from people, like aggressively so. I think that everybody sort of can teach you something. And I think that being openness to listen to people probably makes them want to be more, makes them trust me.
It sounds like that you have an aggressive curiosity.
Yeah, I like that. Aggressive curiosity.
What do you think they take from their engagement with you? Why do these elder types want to ally with you? What do they get from it?
They get a...
Do you know?
I don't know. I could make assumptions. I could say that it's because they need a young person's input, or they need a young person to keep them feeling young. They need just around. They want a part. People get. I think that people get a huge benefit or feeling from passing on their lessons to the younger generation, it probably goes back to caveman times when we were sort of,
Right.
it's the only way we pass down lessons.
Do you think they're trying to pass on a lesson, or do you think that you remind them of something they could have been?
Both. Yeah.
Why did you not really want to attend school and start building your own thing? You could tell us about Bruise.
Bruise, I've always, I think that my family have some entrepreneurs in them. Like my mum, she's been an entrepreneur for as long as I remember. That's why they came to Australia. She's always said, and because of that,
Is she a founder?
She's a founder. Hell yeah.
Why is she a founder?
She's relentless. She is incredibly clever. I'm not saying that those are the things that I think relentless you need to be as a founder, but because she builds things.
Okay. What does she build?
Well, number one, she built our family.
Okay.
Number two, she built 2 successful businesses.
What do they do?
The first one is she came over to run the Sydney Futures Exchange in like 1997, I want to say they moved to Australia. And that's the reason they came to Australia, was for her job, so they shipped over. And then she built a juice company, Lucky You Cleanse. But yeah, I think that her being a founder, I mean, when we were, my first business I started was...
Sounds like you look up to your mum.
Definitely.
What do you look up to in her?
Who?
What do you look up to in her?
It's difficult because there's not one thing. She's a powerhouse.
What's the thing that's helping you the most right now?
What do you mean by that?
Is there something about her right now that you're anchoring to that's helping you on your journey?
Yeah, I think that she's incredibly relentless.
Okay.
Like incredibly so. Like she'll just keep going. Like she won't stop.
What does that do for you?
What does that do?
Okay, what does that anchor do for you?
It makes me want to do good by that example.
Sure.
The other thing that she's great, she never, and maybe that's why maybe that goes back to some of the likableness questions or the trust or whatever, but she never holds a grudge. Like, sure, she can get into an argument, but she'll never hold a grudge. And I think that is something that is fascinating to me.
Is that where your curiosity comes from, do you think?
It could be.
You know, most of the great world conquerors had one thing that was a common trend, is that they looked up to their mothers. Their mum's boys. Yeah.
Interesting.
What does that statement make you think about?
That I've got a lot to live up to.
Interesting. So let's jump back to Bruise.
Yeah.
Your first business that you started.
That was
Tell
my
us
third
about it.
business. My first one was Joac.
Okay, take me through each one.
My first one was Joac. It was Joac standard for my Jack, Oliver, Alex, and Chris. So my little brother and 2 of my best mates from home. And this was just as Mum started a juice business. We would have been 10.
Alarm came up and it
Oh.
turned it off.
We started Joac. We would have been 10. And right as Mum sort of started doing juicing, we had a orange squeezer. We used to go down to the park and sell fresh squeezed orange juice at like a little desk. And Chris, I think, was really into skateboarding. So we used to have these skateboards that people would come around, they'd pay for their juice, and they'd keep walking, and then we'd skateboard after them and deliver them their juice. I think that was hilarious.
What was the business model?
It was just a standard, lemonade stand.
Huh.
We made the juice.
How many customers did you have?
I don't remember. We did well for ourselves. I think we would have made like a, $200 over a couple, like 2 weeks, which at the age of 10 was probably a lot of money.
What did you learn from that experience?
I learned that the rush and exhilaration of starting a business and organizing everybody together to sort of come up with one beautiful thing. That was cool. That was just an insane rush that I hadn't gotten before, that I knew that I wanted to replicate.
What happened next?
Next there was there was a t-shirt thing. I built a few websites, tote bags, and then it was brews.
Right.
The other ones fell. Like the t-shirts, oversaturated. I couldn't figure it out. The tote bags, that was just, I struggled trying to deal with people on Alibaba and get the right materials and everything.
Right.
And then it was brews, and brews came about because.
And how old are you now?
How old am I now? 22.
When you did brews, like in the
when I
journey?
did brews, I would have been 17.
Right.
Yeah. I would have been 17. Just 17.
Right. Why'd you start brews?
Well, I started brews because I needed something to do. Like this was just after the tote bag business. I was like starving for something to do. That wasn't just school. And I went.
Why do you think you were starving for something to do?
I needed to because I needed to build something, and I wasn't really building anything at school.
So like a natural urge.
Yeah, like build something bigger than myself.
Okay.
Do. And I think that is like I've always had, I don't know if you call it like delusions of grandeur or something, just an idea of wanting to do something great or be something great.
Right.
And that's I think one of my driving forces behind doing business stuff. Like I want to make some sort of impact, do something interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why.
And what problem did that company solve?
Brews solved the problem that if you went into Woolworths or Coles and you looked at the shelf at the sort of sweet drinks that taste good, none of them were good for you. And this was, I think, just before or only as kombucha was really hitting Australia. I don't like kombucha very much.
Why don't you like kombucha?
I don't know, I just don't like the sort of sour taste. It's like, it's trying to be sweet, and it's like the advertising's all, it's sweet, it's nice, and it's good for you. I don't think it tastes that nice. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know, I think it's just like...
So you wanted to beat bitter, but healthy.
Yeah, I wanted to be bitter but healthy, and so brews came, it was an adaptogenic tea blend, which is, what did it have? The main thing was the Adapto tea. And it was a combination of ashwagandha, tulsi, holy basil, and licorice root. And it had like this great thing where it was a fresh tea taste at the start, and then it left a sweet taste in your tongue. I remember Jono Walker, when he started drinking it, he like got addicted to it because he was addicted to soft drinks, he used to say. And he was like, he's like, I need something sweet that doesn't have heaps of sugar and is actually good for me.
Yeah.
He's like, keep bringing it in. So
was it successful?
It was successful in teaching me the sort of building blocks of a real business.
Right. And what blocks were those?
Your initial marketing communications, how to pitch an idea. I did this pitch for there was like a teacher conference in the main hall in my school, and they wanted me to come in, so I came in with my table, and I had a few sheets with the logos on them and all the Adapto teas there. I did my pitch, and then everybody sort of came and tried it. It was a weird event, because it was just me, the only student there, and then a house full of teachers, which was crazy because they were all sort of still seniors to me then. But yeah, that.
And why do you think they invited you?
I was pretty good marketing material for the school.
Right.
But I think as well as that, I don't think that that's the only reason. I think that might be a cynical reason. I don't know. I think that they enjoyed seeing somebody actually do something, or they could think in their minds that they contributed to somebody doing something or building something.
Did they buy many juices?
Yeah, there was a few main ones. Like there was, I think, 4 teachers who I'd had who bought sort of like a 6-pack each, which was cool.
Do you think teachers knew that you had to be a founder?
Not until I hit the end of my school.
What does that mean? Explain
Like
that
not until I hit year 12. I had this thing. I never really sort of took every opportunity, which I sort of regret until the very end. And then at my last sort of year, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do as much as I can and try and take every opportunity. And from then, I think everybody was like, oh shit, what's this kid doing? Or who like people who had never really thought about me before were sort of like, okay, let's keep an eye on this person.
Do you think you have any other choice but to be an entrepreneur?
No. I get bored. I think the biggest...
When did that really become cemented in your brain?
I've always had that idea where I didn't really want to work for somebody, and then I found you, and I really enjoyed working for you, because for the first 2 odd years it was very much a pirate ship. And then as soon as we sort of, with me, got bigger to that sort of 400 or 500 person range, and it started becoming very corporate-y and organizational, and everybody, you couldn't really be a pirate anymore. I don't think like people they shunned pirates. That could have been my disagreement, as we talked about earlier as well, as I was still too much of a pirate for that.
How do they shun pirates?
Because pirates are radical. They listen to orders and instructions, but they like to do things their own way. And they also, I think that pirates, pirates are...
Why do they shun pirates?
Why do they shun pirates? I think because pirates make a lot of mistakes. They make mistakes, they're fallible, but they get things done. And they often are very creative in the way that they do it. I think that most organizations don't like creativity.
Right.
Like they say they do, they have their fun think tanks and stuff, but really, real creativity, it's scary. It doesn't align with, it's too risky.
Okay. Do you think founders and pirates are the same thing?
Yeah.
Do they differ in any way?
We don't have scurvy. I thought I had scurvy once when I moved out of home into London, but I didn't. But no, we had No, I think no, it's
Is your mother a pirate?
a pirate's life for me. Yeah, I can see my mom as a pirate.
I find that founders are different to pirates because pirates treasure their gold, but founders share their treasure. What do you think about that?
Pirates share their treasures with their ship and with their tribe.
Are you sure? Isn't the archetype of burying it to go back and get it later and then go get more?
Yeah, I guess so. That's why pirate maps exist. Sure. Well, in that case, yeah. So then, is it more of like a Robin Hood kind of thing?
I think you're close, but why do you think founders and pirates are different? You said why they're similar. Why do you think they're different?
Because founders are often, I think that founders are on a more noble, they're on a more noble mission
Okay.
than just going out and searching for gold.
And that's a good way of putting it. So, what are you working on now?
Well, I'm working on the Founders Journal,
Right.
which is I think the Founders Journal is an idea to help founders do incredible things and not get killed along the way.
Why do you think you're working on it?
Because I'm fascinated by companies doing interesting things.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by companies doing interesting things. And the people who are making them happen. I think that it's sort of the most needed thing right now of founders. It's that innovation, the creativity. You don't see a lot of it.
Why do you think founders are the most needed right now?
Because growth is stagnating.
What type of growth?
Intellectual. Like you don't all of the sort of you read all these great books that were written, hundreds of years ago with these incredible ideas, and these days you don't really get that anymore. People aren't. They're not. Listen, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but I don't think that people are really creating new ideas and thought. They're sort of just hopping into the system.
Right.
Maybe that's why, because the founders disrupt the system.
What is something you learned that you didn't know as you've had the opportunity to speak to more of these people in a more personal way?
That they're not these sort of immense deities that you might think a founder is by watching sort of the Steve Jobs and all that, and the classic founders that we read about all the time. That in reality, they're actually pretty regular people. Some of them are weird. I'm pretty weird, but they're more sort of regular people who are either pissed off about something, or on a noble cause that. They're on a noble cause, but they don't say that, right?
What if they don't come up with the deity type narrative? Who's coming up with it?
I think it's interesting. I don't think that they are really that. I think people come up with it after they survive a few times.
Okay. So
Like-
do you think they're coming up with it, or someone else is? Or someone else is coming up, seeing them do
I
hard
don't,
things
I
and
don't,
not get killed, and then they come up with it?
Yeah, I don't think that they come up with it. I don't think that's a founder's thing to come up with. I think they do things to make that to push that narrative along, but they don't come up with it.
Right.
I think that people see them do things like, you know, if you look at your Steve Jobs or whatever, you sort of, nobody looks at him as a deity until he comes back the second time to Apple and starts doing his speeches and wearing his turtlenecks, and sure, he pushes that narrative along, but he survived.
So he goes from dick to deity,
Yeah.
right? Why is he never looked at as a hero?
I think people would probably always see him as somebody like that, or even like a Musk as a dick, because they feel small around them.
Okay.
Like they feel like it's such a noble cause to do something great and to survive.
It's a reflection of their own insecurity.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you offering founders? How do you help them?
Well, number one, two things. Helping founders by offering them just a conversation partner, because they don't really get a lot of them. They shut a lot of people out, and nobody understands them. So somebody who actually understands them, and as well as that, helping them build a sales function to help their company grow. Help them build a sales function to, trying to find the right word.
Other than a conversation partner, are you sure you know what you're trying to offer them yet, or are you still figuring it out?
I'm still figuring it out. I know that there's a problem there. I know that I want to help, but exactly the best way to help, or the best thing to help with, no, I don't know yet.
What's next for Oliver?
What's next is, I don't know. I have a lot of figuring out to do. I have a sort of, 50-year plan of where I want to end up, and the spots in between there and then. I don't want to say it's going with the flow. It's measured and it's planned, but sometimes just taking a random leap ends up in pretty incredible things. So I think what's next for me is I need to talk to a lot of people and a lot of founders. Number one, to figure out better how actually to help them, but then as well as that, figure out what exactly are my next steps, or what I should do, or even what I should be when I grow up.
And what is one thing you would say to founders that could be helpful to them?
That you don't need to know. You don't need to know if your next step is right.
Thank you for your time, Oliver.
Thank you.